Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Between Realities VR podcast. I can't believe we're here right now. My name is Alex VR. I am one half of Between Realities, and the other half is right here. It's Skiva. What's up, bro?
What is up, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
we just recorded some Backseat VR Developer, and it went a little over. We had some technical issues, and we thought we might be a little late to today's show, but we nailed it.
Stuck the landing, dude.
Absolutely.
Well, hey everybody. Just catching up with life. It's good to see you, and we're going to be catching up with each other and all of you and maybe a very special guest here in just a few minutes. But we appreciate you tuning in. You know, it's Friday. It's
TGIF, right?
TGIF on September 30th, 2022.
Where's Mike Newton with the weekend? He was probably up there, right?
Yeah, Mike Newton. He's our guy. If he's not, if we don't see the comment, we'll know that he is here in spirit. But yeah, you know, it's Friday. We're on YouTube. It's live. But maybe it's not live for you, right? Like maybe you're catching this on uploadvr.com in the browser there, huh? Which is great. We really appreciate that. We are official Upload VR correspondents here on Between Realities. Or there's also audio versions of this on Anchor and Spotify and
iTunes and Google Podcasts and like all the podcast places.
Yep.
So however you want to ingest your Between Realities, please feel free to do so.
Special shout out to anybody listening on the audio version. But for the record, you should come check it out on YouTube at some point because the videos, you know, it's worth seeing.
I think so.
Yeah. Also, special shout out to our Patreons. Which
heck yeah.
I need to do. Like,
we love you guys.
I want to do something. Like, what do you guys want? Can you just tell Patreons? You're out there. You're listening. What would make you stoked? Like, what can we do to show you how much we love you? Just tell us what to do.
Yeah. Pop in the Discord. Hop in the Patreon channel. Let us know. Whatever we can do. We will fly out and give you hugs. Whatever we need to do.
Well... Sure, I guess. Yeah. Depends who you are. So anyway, I you know, at the top of my chat is not the oldest message that I've seen. I saw El Diego in there earlier saying that it was going to be a great show. Nice. So I don't know if you're still here, Diego, but if you are, it's good that you comment, you know, and you leave messages for us because it just it's nice, you know?
Yeah. We love you guys. We love hearing from you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mr. Lord Beavis in the chat. Woo! What's up, Mr. Lord Beavis? Ooh, CreeperBetty VR. Welcome to the BR crew. Is this a thing? A membership situation?
Oh, it is. Yeah, we activated memberships.
Whoa.
Yeah. We're gonna be putting up more emojis and all that stuff. And oh, look at that! Just got a little BR badge. Yeah. Well, congratulations, CreeperBetty. You are the first. Hey. You're the first on the crew. Woo!
There's our first members.
All right.
So anyway, I guess there's a way to become a member on YouTube, and it gives you emojis.
Hit the little join button. Yeah, it gives you emojis, and we'll do stuff. You know, maybe we can.
We'll do the same thing we do for the patrons.
Right. We will tell you how much we love you, and you know that your support enables us to do all of the things that we need to do. Right. So we truly appreciate you guys.
Full Dive Gaming, a virtual reality podcast. Heck yes.
All right.
Full Dive Gaming, a virtual reality podcast. I don't think I've heard an episode of Full Dive Gaming, a virtual reality podcast. So maybe
I have heard some Full Dive.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I need to listen. Paradise Decay. Evening all. I'll be listening in. What's up, PD? How you feeling, man?
Hey, what up, PD?
About you.
We love you, dude.
Indie VR in the house. What's up, Indie VR?
Hey.
Little Mo Beast Gaming just had knee surgery and is going home. Thank God for seated mode in VR games.
Right? Heal up, man. That's a pretty big deal of a surgery. I mean, you need your knees to stand, so we hope everything is good.
Yes.
For real.
Yeah. Feel better. Sit down and play some VR. Natalie's here. What's up, Natalie?
Hey.
Brat Pack in the house. Oh, I guess you're right, huh? Laszlo 216 becoming a new member of the BR crew.
Hey, what's up? Thank you.
Enjoy that little badge. Damn, that badge is pretty cool.
I know. And the longer you go, you will end up with a silver one and then a gold one.
Really?
So yeah, maybe eventually we'll see some gold.
Maybe I should
BR badges.
Maybe I should become a member.
I know. We should give to ourselves.
I want the logo. I want the icon. Wolf Raza's here. What's up, man? Good to see you. Always a pleasure.
What's up, Wolf Raza?
Typically polarized perspective in the chat. which I love so much.
Yeah. Yep.
Quality Leaf. What's up, Quality Leaf?
Hey.
Ooh, a little Hussein X, right?
Hussein X, what's up, buddy?
Gotta have some Hussein X.
Heck yeah.
Andy Obscure Nerd.
Hey, Obscure Nerd.
We got him. We got Mr. Tasselhoff in the house as well.
Up, Tass?
A little fun with the clicks. Hey, Clickster. Yeah. We got Chi-Town D. What's up?
Hey D, how's it going?
Chi-Town D. I want to play Ultimex with you, Chi-Town D. Unless you've played it already, but if not, I wouldn't mind helping you in that inaugural match. Which, by the way, you played some and you said you liked it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, isn't it fun?
It is awesome. You know, because I did play it back in the beta days.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff I was like, you know, and then I got into it. Me and Tri were playing, and we were just having a blast.
Next game.
Oh, next game, exactly.
Yeah, Duggars K. What's up, Duggars K? Ooh, Roy Boy. He's driving home, and he will rejoin in 10 minutes. Well, it's probably been 10 minutes since that comment. So, what's up, Roy Boy?
Hey.
Michelle B. Hey, Michelle B. Good to see you. Little James Moore in the house. Nice. From the Cayman Islands. I love it.
Wow, nice. Yeah. Very cool. You watching us on the beach? That'd be sweet.
It's amazing. Like living in the future.
I know.
Using YouTube to reach people all around the planet.
Yeah. It's nutty. I love it. It's so cool. A
random guy on the internet is here. So.
Oh, I love a random guy. I love all the random guys on the internet.
Oh, God. Thomas McNostril. He's chilling.
Hey.
He says hello. Virtual Waypoint's chilling in the house as well.
Heck yeah.
Mando PV, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
How's it going?
Propapopa shouldn't be wasting my phone internet, but this looks nice. Well, it's worth every megabyte, all right?
We appreciate you.
So thanks for being here and using your data to watch Between Realities.
Heck yeah.
Oh, JayBratt is now a member of the BR crew.
What? I heard that guy's pretty rad.
God, oh, man.
Right?
It's like I'm going to pump the brakes. Guido7335 is here. Good to see you, Guido.
I played some After the Fall with Guido a couple days ago, and we had a blast. Yeah.
Did you carry him, or...
No, we all contributed equally.
It sounds like you got carried, Guido.
No, Guido's great. It was great.
Virtual reality check. Good to see you, man.
Hey.
Thanks for popping in. Tonic is here. Yo, what up, JayBratt? Yeah, JayBratt's in the chat right now. And that's not the only place he is. C-Brocade is here. What's up? Managed to comment on iPhone. Wow, nice.
Cool. Nice.
Virtual Strangers. That's Wes.
Hey, what up, Wes?
What's up, Wes? Now, Wes and I went like 6-0 in Ultimex the other day.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, we didn't lose.
Nice.
Every game we played, we won.
Nice. Very cool.
Yep. Oh, awesome. He says D and Skiva versus me and Alex. Oh,
let's go.
We don't want to do that to them, Wes.
That's okay. We'll be your stepping stone or whatever.
Frankly, I wouldn't even be surprised, dude. I feel like you're getting better at games. Like,
oh, well,
I don't know.
Thanks.
Like when I first met you, I was like, I could kick this guy's ass at any game.
I don't know. I'm good at my games. After the Fall is my jam.
You are good at it.
You know, but I don't know. We'll see.
Snowtoad.
Yeah.
What's up?
Snowtoad. How's it going?
Evening, everyone. Hey. Good to see you, Snowtoad. Hey, Guido just hit us with a super chat.
Hey,
oh my gosh. He says, Alex and Skiva, you guys rock. Thank you, Skiva, for the After the Fall fun. Hey.
You got it. Let's play again.
Thanks for the sweet, cold, hard cash. We're going to spend that on something.
It's beautiful.
Mr. Tasselhoff is also the newest member of the BR crew. Oh, my gosh.
What's up? Thank you.
Good. That's really good. And, of course, Mike Newton with The Weekend. Thank you, Mike Newton. I don't know what we would have done if I didn't see that, man. Oh, look at the Skiva emojis.
There are Alex emojis coming. I just need a little more time.
Those are good. Okay, listen. Guess what, everybody? We have a guest.
We do.
You all already know who it is. This guy has a YouTube channel that just keeps growing. It just keeps gaining traction.
Because his content is so killer.
It's really good. He spent 10 days straight in virtual reality, streamed it the entire time. He also is like the guru when it comes to anything accessory related for the Quest, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely.
Let's not waste any more time. You know him, you love him. Please welcome to Between Realities, Mr. JayBratt.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, thank you so much for having me here. I already see a lot of faces I know in the chat. This is really awesome, but I've been super excited to be here. I feel like for months now when I met you guys in person, we've been talking about this, so I am pumped to be here. Thank you.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we met over in San Francisco, right? We went over to this opening of the Meta store in San Fran, and Burlingame. Yep. And it was pretty awesome. And JayBratt was there along with some other homies like Soul Fox and GT and Techmanju and like just a whole bunch of people. And we had an absolute blast. VR with Jasmine. It was great. And it was so much fun hanging out with you. Steve knows, like, it was great.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
I feel like it was one of those like instant homie kind of situations, you know, where like maybe we didn't really have like a whole lot of communication before we met in person, but then like instantly we're just like, okay, what's up, man? Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yes.
We're on the same
That was the
page
coolest thing about it. It was like all these people, you've seen their content forever, and you I was kind of nervous showing up. I was like, do any of these people know me at all? It's just going to be like, I'm going to be the odd person out. And they were all just like, Jay, blah, blah. It was like so cool.
Dude,
and
we're
for those of you out there who are thinking about becoming a patron,
cool.
I got a Skiva hug, and I got to say, it's probably worth being a patron for. So.
Heck yeah. That's hilarious. No, that was great, dude. It was, we're all one big family, you know, like it's amazing. We end up at these events together and it's like we've all known each other forever. Like there's no weird warm up periods. It's just like, oh yeah. Yeah. What's up? You know, it's great.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It is great. And, you know, we withheld any information that we were going to be crashing the party while we were there too. So like we just showed up at the hotel that all these ambassadors were chilling at. We're like, what's up, everybody? Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, that was awesome. I really was like, I had no idea because Jasmine had told me she was thinking about it, and I walked down to the lobby and you guys are just there. I was like, I was just thinking about that whole event, and that was like a dream come true for me. I remember when I first started the channel dreaming of one day meeting all these people. It was just the coolest thing.
That's so cool.
And here's another dream, being on this podcast. So
again, thank you. Wow. Right on.
Okay.
Very cool.
You have earned our favor with these comments and mentions.
Oh, well, I think we should address something real quick. It's a little bit, we just want to, you know, mention this at the beginning of the show and go forward from here. But we have a very prominent member of our community that passed away this past weekend, and we want to pay our respects to Dave Station VR. David Wilcox, he was a very prominent part of the PSVR Without Parole community, and he was just an awesome guy, and everyone really looked up to him, and he's just super great. If you want, you can, if you would like to support his family for the funeral or in any other way, you can head over. There is a GoFundMe that they are trying to raise enough money to be able to take the burden of the funeral off the family. So we did want to just kind of pay our respects and say, you know, that we love you, and we will catch you on the other side soon enough.
Yep. Shout out Dave Station VR. Thanks for being a legit homie member of the VR community, and gone but not forgotten.
Yep. Well, so it is what it is, and
it is what I mean, dude.
R.I.P. homie.
There's listen, man. There's no escape from this situation.
There isn't. I mean? We're all going to take this headset off eventually.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, you know, if anything, for me, these are always moments of like deep gratitude at the end of the day. You know, like of course it's very heavy and very sad when someone who we love and care about moves on, but at the end of the day, I always end up in this place of gratitude because I realize that, like I just said, there's no way to get out of this fucking thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're not getting out. Yeah. So we enjoy the time that we have together. We celebrate the things that we love together, you know, and that's what we're doing right here, right now. You know, like we are all living our lives, pursuing our passions, participating and being a part of something bigger than ourselves, you know, by contributing in the ways that we all are. Even everyone who's watching this right now is doing that. You know, you're pursuing passion. You're doing things that make you happy and make you enjoy life. Because for me, seriously, straight up, there is nothing more important than having fun in this world.
Yeah.
Period.
For real.
Period. Yeah. I don't care about anything else in my life as much as I care about enjoying myself and having fun.
That's a great way to live. Who wants to be here and be miserable all the time? You got to make the best of life, right?
Yes, you do.
So, anywho, as Dave would want, we will move on and talk about VR and video games and everything that he cared about, what we care about. So
we're gonna do that.
Heck yeah.
We're also gonna recognize Roy Boy for signing up with the Between Realities member crew.
So many new members.
Yeah, as well as Mo Beast Gaming is signed up as a member now.
Wow,
that's amazing,
guys.
Yep.
Thank you
guys for joining,
guys and girls,
for doing that.
We love you guys.
Yes,
Thanks.
we do. Yes, we do. Nathy in the chat with the little heart emoji, absolute legend, of course, talking about Skiva. Just talking about Dave's station. Yes. Definitely legend indeed. And thanks for stopping by, Nathy. Always great to have you here in the chat.
Heck yeah.
Z-Storm Games, Space Denizen, Mash Daddy Cool, Chris Richardson, homie. Good to see you guys.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess I guess we move on to our first thing of the day, and there's no way not to talk about this, right? Bonelab is finally here. It's finally here, and my god, wow! I can't even tell you how absolutely stoked I was for this game, and that I still am for this game. It's just so incredibly good, and I don't know if anyone out there in chat has had a chance to play this yet. I sincerely hope that you have, because it is already, in my opinion, a masterpiece.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a big word.
Yeah.
It is for me. Now this is my opinion, right? This everyone likes games, and different games, and for different reasons, and different things bother people, and different things make people happy about games. One of the things, this is very much Boneworks, right? This is Boneworks, but it's all new. The same mechanics, the same controls, and the same jank. Right?
In the same jank.
There it is.
But I personally love that jank, right? I love the physics in this game. I love being able to climb things and run on things and jump at things. And like sometimes your arms will get stuck in weird places and you don't notice because you're missing feedback, right? When you're doing something in real life and you hit your arm and it gets stuck somewhere, and you readjust. But sometimes in games like this, it's hard because you don't have that kind of feedback. But this game is absolutely incredible. It's everything that Boneworks was, plus so much more.
Tonic in the house just stepped away for a minute, but they'll be back. Soul Fox Gaming also here in the chat joining us. Thanks for being here, Soul Fox. Good old buddy Fox.
What's up, Soul?
Bratt, tell us, man, Mr. JayBratt. What are your high level thoughts on this Bonelab's situation?
Bonelab is, I think Thrill said it is a VR game for VR gamers, built by VR gamers. And in that, it is completely true. It's a really good game, but it is a game that will push you to your limits. You have to be someone who likes VR. I would not say someone brand new should walk into this game. This game is intense. There's no teleportation. The movement can be really wild because you're climbing up stuff and your head's really moving around. It is so intense. So for those of us who have been in VR a long time, and we want that, I don't want to say we want to feel sick, but we want to get those visceral reactions again. We want to feel the game. This game will do that to you. There's a scene in it we can see right in the background where the elevator plummets, and it's like all of a sudden you're your stomach goes up into your throat, and it takes you back to when you first got into a VR headset, all those feelings and emotions you had. So any pro VR gamers out there, you're probably gonna have a great time. Anyone who just got their headset this week to play Bonelab, play a few games first. Get used to VR a little bit first before you jump into this game.
For real. Can you imagine? I was thinking that while I'm playing this. I'm like, this game has caused so much hype for VR. And a lot of people that have never played VR are looking at this game, and all of the people that are talking about it. And people have probably gone out and bought a headset and bought a Quest or whatever just to play this game. Now, this game goes against every rule that any VR dev has ever been taught to avoid, right? Like the no teleport thing. It's only straight, free locomotion, sprinting, running, jumping, all of these things. There is go-kart driving where you're flipping around in the air. You're riding in the backseat of cars. You're climbing these massive structures and falling, plummeting sometimes to your death. This thing does all of the things that we've all been told to avoid. There's like roller coaster things, and like there's so much stuff that happens in this game, and all of it could very much make you very, very sick. So if you are not a dev, if you feel like you haven't that you haven't gotten your VR legs yet completely, this isn't where you want to be yet.
You think this could make some new users sick?
It absolutely will. It absolutely will, for sure.
It can make experienced users sick.
Yes.
Even. I mean, you got to have an iron stomach for some of this stuff.
You do. That being said, if you can handle it, there is very few things out there that are going to give you more of a rush and a better immersed experience in VR than Bonelab will. And one of the crazy things about this game, and I still can't even believe it, sometimes I have to like see if I'm like pinch myself and see if I'm dreaming. Like this game looks and plays almost exactly the same on the Quest. Like this game is like a clone. Like the graphics are pretty much the same as Boneworks, and we all know what Boneworks looks like, right? How the heck did they put this on a cell phone chip? Like, I swear there is definitely witchcraft involved. I can't figure out any other way. It's just nuts.
there was some moments like in the big rooms, like some of the environments are just huge. And you're in like this like, it seems like you're in an airplane hangar. And I was asking myself, I was like, how did they get this to work? Like, it's just mind boggling. And they said, you know, the physics are exactly the same. They're identical. They were able to get it to do everything. So you think about, not only is this game rendering these visuals, but everything has weight to it. All this is happening at the same time. And I mean, very few, if ever, frame drops. But I was also recording, you know, while I was doing, which does put a stress on the Quest. But even then, there was only a few times where I noticed anything getting wonky on that. So, like the perfect explanation, I think, was you said, it comes with some of the jank Boneworks did. But they got this thing to work on the Quest, which is just mind-boggling.
I don't understand how it's even possible. Like you were saying, not just the visuals, right? But all of the physics and the weight of things and all the colliders. Everything is able to hit everything. You can move things with your hands, but you can also smack things around with your guns. And you know, there's multiple types of avatar systems, right? Where you're able to change avatars. You go through the game and you collect avatars, and then you can change them on the fly, and all the different avatars have different sets of attributes for what they can do. Maybe some are fast, some of them are super strong and can lift heavy objects and just whip around enemies like they weigh nothing. There's small little ones, there's fast runners, and you know, that are good at parkour, and like it's nuts. And on the fly, the whole system changes, which changes how all the physics work in the game. And I just can't figure out how they pulled this off, right? When so many devs out there are like, oh, we just couldn't give you the experience that we could give you on the PC, on the Quest, and then, you know, state the limitations. But obviously Stress Level Zero here is extremely talented, right? These guys are some of the best programmers around. I mean, they have learned to utilize this hardware unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's this game is definitely making a splash. You know, Thrill Seeker made a video, I mean, of like you would, like, naturally, and it got to number 15 on trending for YouTube gaming.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
hot dang.
Yeah, I forget how many views it had last time I checked, but you know, it was like something like 400,000 views, 500,000 views when it was starting to hit that trending list. And then like last night when I checked, it was like down to 21 or something, but still like in the top 100 videos for gaming on YouTube right now is Thrill Seeker's Bonelab video. So, you know, anybody from the VR community knows that it's very rare that we ever get put on any kind of list like that compared to flat screen gaming, PC gaming, console gaming, whatever. So it's obvious that this game is making a splash in the VR community, of course, but also maybe a little bit in the gaming community too.
So do we think, is this and this might sound like a weird question, but hear me out. Like, is this a good thing? Because we have this insanely good VR game that's making this huge splash and all these eyes are on it. But at the same time, it's a game that brand new VR users are not going to be able to handle, I don't think. Like, you know,
that's a good point. It's a good question. I think about how many people are going to see this. This game's so cool, I'm going to go get a Quest, and they get this game first, and they end up sick as a dog from trying it. That's a good question to worry about.
I think it's a big deal. I mean, that happened to some of my friends that I finally got to convince to get a Quest when Resident Evil 4 came out. and one of them got really sick and never went back into VR. Lost them permanently.
Yeah.
And so that's a legitimate concern. This game very quickly, not in the first like 20 minutes or anything, but decently quick in this game puts you in some very intense scenarios. Like one of the very first things that happens after the intro section when you continue on with the story is you're like in a mine cart and you're just barreling all over this mine and up and down and bumps and side to side and huge drops, and like it is it almost made me feel something.
Dang. And that's saying something, because I've tapped out of stuff while you're like iron stomaching it, like not giving a crap.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, there's some stuff coming up in chat too about how it opens in a really dark and kind of creepy way. And I think that also may have been kind of foreshadowing, this is a game not for the faint of heart. They put you into it and they kind of show you right in that opening scene. This is going to be very heavy, a very tough experience if you've never done something like this. So I do think that there is some things about that scene, I think, where we can all wonder, was that the best way to open the game? But it does get you in the mindset that you're walking into something very serious. This is not just a jokey, laughy game. It's going to be big.
Can we talk about that? I mean, it is the very first scene of the game, so I feel like it's probably not a spoiler, because a lot of these videos have covered the first 15 minutes all the way up to the first hour of the video.
Even in the trailer too.
Yeah, it is. So
by the way, before we go into that, is there no like rating system for a VR experience? Because like, like a console game, I can see it's like M for mature. Like I can basically immediately assume that I'm going to see stuff that's like intense or whatever. But like there really isn't anything like that in VR, is there?
I saw the word blood. It said like rated that something because of the word blood, and I remember that was like the only thing it said, so it didn't really warn you at all of this experience. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so to kind of get back into what you're starting to talk about here, there's a scene at the beginning of Boneworks where you have
first thing pretty much.
You put your head through a noose, right?
Yeah.
So this is like a self-harm scene, which of course we all know was a topic of discussion when Superhot started getting I don't know, what did they how do you say this, people started giving them a hard time about it, or having feelings about it or taking offense to it, or however you want to word it.
On both sides, right? There were a lot of people that did not appreciate that you had to turn a gun on yourself in Superhot,
right,
and pull the trigger, and then there are a lot of people who don't want anything censored, which I'm kind of on that boat, right? The art is art, right? And the artist should be, in my opinion, should have that say. And if they're comfortable with that, it's part of the story. It's part of the grand vision and part of the art, right? But so this is very interesting, because the very first thing we do here, and we're talking about this game breaking all the rules, and the first thing they do is like, here's a noose. You're not progressing until you wrap this thing around your neck.
Here's something that one of the most popular VR games ever removed from their game after publishing it.
Right.
Do you want to weigh in on this, JayBratt?
Yeah, I think that to also help put this in perspective out there, it's obvious as the scene goes on that you're like being put to death. This isn't you alone in a room. You're in front of a crowd of people, and you see all their faces, and it's obvious what's happening. It's not scary so much as it's eerie, though, that feeling of like, okay, I'm putting this around, and then you're waiting as the pillars below you look like you're about to drop, and I didn't know what was coming. I had no idea what was about to happen, and there was this moment, and I do think that you bring up a good point about art is art, and that's why we're supposed to have these rating systems. But I was a little surprised as the scene went on that there wasn't some sort of, we've come into a time where there's usually trigger warnings for these things, or some line that kind of says, hey, something's coming. It wasn't anything like that, so I was surprised that there was nothing to let you know, hey. And it was in the trailer, so maybe they kind of knew you'd see it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. But like, as someone like how do I say this? There are some scenes that I guess it was in the trailer, so that's a good point. But like personally, like some of that stuff is like pivotal in a storyline, or in a scene, or coming to that moment naturally is a part of what makes that moment what it is. Like if every movie that you watched told you to look out for someone hurting themselves in it, then you might be like figuring out stuff in the movie as you're going because you know that someone at some point is going to hurt themselves. You know what I mean? Like, so that, like, you know, you don't really see warnings like that in any other real form of media. I mean, I guess maybe they are in some shows and movies. Is that what you're saying, that like sometimes we do see these trigger warnings?
Yeah, it's becoming more common with stuff that concerns, you know, mental health and things. I've seen that more and more. And then, of course, there's things like physical, you know, we've seen more now. It's like, this contains strobing in this game or this movie. Like, watch out for that. We're seeing that more and more. And it is kind of a spoiler. I do wonder, like, if you're worried about that, should there be a website that you go to and you see, hey, does this have it, versus it kind of spoiling it? Yeah. But yeah, it's a bigger subject than just VR. You know, that's about, you know, how do people parent and how do they take care of themselves and watch out for their stuff. So it's a big topic.
It is. And can you imagine if they started just removing movies or all the scenes from movies that depicted violence or scenes of self-harm and stuff? A lot of things, just stories wouldn't be told. A lot of you know, if it was removed from books, like, you can't, I don't think the right thing to do is to remove it, but dude, a website that would say
Romeo and cool. Romeo and Juliet.
I know, dude.
That's like one of the oldest, most famous stories of all time. You know, like, people were watching Romeo and Juliet back in the day, and they weren't like telling Shakespeare to remove the scene. You know, like, I personally am very much in the camp of, if someone who's creating an experience wants to elicit a feeling by using these kinds of methods, I'm 100% okay with it. I was not uncomfortable at all in Superhot, and I know some people are, and that's a bummer, but I don't think we should form all of our experiences around everyone's sensibilities. And I apologize if that sounds like what's the word, like inconsiderate, because I really don't mean to be inconsiderate, but stifling art for the sake of making people not feel something kind of defeats the purpose of art, in my opinion. And that's a slippery slope, because then before we know it, this is not okay, that's not okay, this isn't okay, that's okay, and then we just have this like insanely sterile environment and sterile art and sterile games and sterile movies. And you know, life isn't sterile, man. It's bumpy, it's scary. There's heavy. Not all feelings are good, you know, as we kind of started this episode with. So it's like, that's a part of life, you know, that's the duality of existence. And you can avoid it if you want, you know, and I apologize to anybody out there who's walked into these scenes in these games and were triggered and felt something, you know, like again, I don't want to sound inconsiderate towards that, but I don't think that there should ever be an expectation that the creators of these things remove this stuff from their thing to make other people more comfortable. It'll be interesting to see what happens. A lot of kids are going to get quests, and you know, and I don't know what's going to happen with parents yelling about this. You know, one of the things is, typically, unless the game's being casted, you can't see what's happening in your kid's headset, right? So there's that. But someone's going to see it, and someone's going to freak out that a company made their kid put a noose around his neck. Now, like you were saying, JayBratt, this is not a thing where you're in a room and you're sad and you're going to hang yourself. You've been put to death, right? And you are up on a stage in front of the town, right? So, you know. Yeah, but you know, like Chris Richardson in the chat saying, I got stuck in Superhot at that point, and I never thought to turn the gun on myself. That was art. And like, that is definitely exactly where I'm coming from when I'm weighing in on this, because that moment to me is still one of my favorite VR moments ever. Because when it dawned on me what they were asking me to do, it was like jaw dropping, you know, like, no way, like, oh my gosh, you know, like, I like went through something, you know, which is the intended purpose of that scene. Right? It's like to make you have it dawn on you, and then you realize it, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, like that is a moment that will stick with me forever. And I'm so grateful for it. Like, I wouldn't know the difference, I guess, if I played it today and I didn't have the opportunity to play through that scene, but my Superhot experience would not have been the same without it. So
I agree. It was a big moment.
I think about like some middle ground that I've never seen happen. I kind of wish maybe games or shows where you're interactive, on Netflix or something, it would give you an option as it starts. Do you want to see the trigger warnings for this before you start?
Yes.
And you could click yes or no. Because, sometimes I don't want to know, what's coming. But if it was something where I was concerned about that, or if I was someone who had a hard time with these things, I would just click yes. And then I could know. I could click no if I don't want to know. That might be an easier solution than either just saying everyone has to have it or not worrying about having it.
Right. Yeah, because at the end of the day, while we shouldn't be stifling creative expression, we should also strive to be inclusive whenever we can. Yeah. And I plan on having an episode this season about accessibility and inclusion in VR experiences, because not everyone's able-bodied, not everyone can do all things that VR games can do. But does that mean that VR developers are have an obligation to make their experiences accessible by all people? I personally don't think so. Now, that said, we should strive for it. We should always try to make things as inclusive as possible and get as many different people the opportunity to get into this stuff and to enjoy it just like any other able-bodied person. But at the end of the day, that starts with, if you have to mandate it inclusive, or what's the word? Inclusive, requiring certain accessibility features, then you may prevent people from making stuff like Boneworks. You know?
Right. And Bonelab, yeah. This is very, very true. I do also want everyone to be able to experience these mind-boggling, jaw-dropping games and experiences, but some things I feel like it just aren't possible to include all of the accessibility options, and if when there is a way, I think it's fantastic. Right. But yeah, should it be mandated? I don't know. I would love to explore that and kind of go down that road on a show and kind of come to some conclusions and explore the whole thing and see what makes sense.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I have a feeling that this conversation is not over. I think it's ending for us right now. Yeah. But this is going to be something that people are trying to figure out, I think, for a little while.
I think so. And if you guys want to see a comparison of the PSVR versus Quest 2 footage, there's a lot of them out there. I put one on Between Realities of me playing through on both and then side by side. So if you want to check out the direct graphics comparison and kind of see what's different in the game, you can go over there and help us out by clicking on that video. That'd be super sweet. Or any of our other community members that have done fantastic Boneworks content. There's so much of it out there right now, and so much more. And we should mention before we stop talking about Boneworks that one of the big deals about Boneworks is its modding thing, right? So they have embraced being able to mod this game and being able to easily import things into the game, import your own avatars, right? Like Thrill brought in his VR chat avatar and was able to play through the game as himself, something that he has spent thousands and thousands of hours in, something that he identifies with, right? I plan on bringing in my Ready Player Me modified avatar and playing through Boneworks as myself, right? It's pretty cool. But at the same time, also bringing in levels and game modes and maps and recreating games and creating new games. And this is only the beginning for Bonelab. Right, the community here is about to embark on an epic modding journey, and if we've learned anything from previous games that have done this is going to be huge. This is a massive game, and it's accessible to be able to put things into this game and create your own stuff. And I think we're going to see just wild things happen from this, and I'm just super excited, super excited.
So JayBratt wouldn't put a new user into Bonelab, but what would you say your go-to first VR experience demo game would be?
Usually Super Hot, Beat Saber are big ones. I actually was using Pistol Whip at a conference that we went to recently. I would warn people, what the game is and what to expect. And I did have one person say, oh man, that was a little freaky. And then of course, Job Simulator is another one. That's an oldie but goldie, but it's great for especially younger people, anyone who's totally new to VR. You don't move around a lot except with physical movement in these games. They don't tend to make you sick. And they also don't have a ton of buttons that you have to use in each one, which is the key to me. These controllers, this doesn't feel like an Xbox controller. And I don't want to have to tell them, okay, this button's this was that. I like games. They use just the triggers or the triggers and the grips. and then they can just go wild from there on their own.
Yeah, that's a really good point, especially because, you know, some of us are gamers and are good with an Xbox controller, and there might even be a layer of having to learn how those translate. But a lot of people who are trying VR for the first time aren't even gamers. You know, they don't even know how to manipulate buttons and a thumbstick. Like, that's a foreign idea for them. So stuff like Beat Saber Job Simulator, where you're not using thumbsticks or button combinations and stuff like that, I really do think, I think you're hitting the nail on that.
And as we talked about before, some people, you put them in a headset and then their neck and head freezes and their hands don't move and they're looking around with their eyes and it's like, yo, this is VR. Like, this is a, you know, simulating reality. Move your head, look around, look at your hands, like you're here, you're present in this in this experience. So it's interesting. You know, non-gamers especially have no idea what they're getting into, and then put on a headset and they don't even know to move their head around.
Right. Yeah. Do you remember your very first VR experience there, JayBratt?
Actually, one of the very first ones was on the Gear VR. If you remember those, you stuck your phone into the headset, and there was this Ocean Rift game where you're swimming around underwater. Was one of the first ones, but the one that I really remember is like the most amazing. There's a game called Land's End, and the only input you had to have in the game was you aimed your eyes, your focus on something, and then you could telepathically move these objects and these puzzles, or you would look at a point and it would glide you to the next point. And even though the game was the most simple, it was one of the most magical experiences I'd ever had, and that was it. I was sold from then on. I was like, okay, once the big headsets come out, I'm definitely getting one. But this must have been like late 2015, early 2016. This was way back when.
Wow, that's cool. I hadn't played that one.
No, me either.
Huh. So, I remember Eclipse Edge of Light, which was a 3DOF experience that was very simple, but games in VR don't have to be extravagant sometimes. Sometimes they can be very simple, and your presence and the environment itself can just really suck you in and just make for a really memorable experience.
Yes, it can.
Yep.
Oh man, I was gonna. Oh, so what happened then? Like, you try VR, you get sold on it. You're like, okay, yes, this is the real deal. I love VR. But what happened that like got you to get a camera and like start filming yourself and like start uploading to YouTube and all that?
Well, that was something I think, I've been watching YouTube forever. One of the things that first tipped me off even about VR was Jacksepticeye had gotten like one of the early DK ones. And I was like, wow, what is this? Because even before that, I had an iPad back in the day that had this game on, the shooter game, where you had to turn the iPad and it would it was like you're looking through a window into another world. And I would remember saying, man, when they figure out a way that I don't have to hold this thing up and it's all awkward, it's going to be amazing. And then seeing Jack and watching his journey and everything, I always wanted to start a channel. Every chance I got, even when I was working full time, I could get someone to a headset, I would just get them in. I remember counting it up before I started the channel. It was over 100 random people I found, family members, friends of friends, people I barely knew, I had come over and try PSVR. And I was like, with all this passion and stuff, I should probably find another way to share it. And it had just aligned at a time in my life where my wife had a good job. I had been in business management a long time and had saved up some money. And she was like, you know, why don't you take some time and try to figure out what you actually want to do? And so YouTube was supposed to be just a thing to burn time while I was finding out what I was going to do. You know, it wasn't supposed to be this lifelong what it's been so far. And it was like, okay, let's post this in some helpful tips and tricks. I wanted to make sure other people who were getting into VR had a good experience. And the first video that really took off, I made tips on how to get your PSVR to track better, because that was a really tough thing for people. And that video took off. And from there, it was like, suddenly it was like, this could be my job. You know, I don't ever call it work. I don't ever call it that. I still think of it as a hobby because I don't want to lose the passion and the love for it. But it is the only thing I do. I don't work like a normal job. I don't work for anybody or anything. Nice. So now it's everything that I do every day, and I love it. I just getting to share what I love is, I think that's everyone's calling, is finding what you love and sharing with people. And I feel like I've found mine.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're full time at this game now, selling the love of VR and really showing your passion and getting other people to
Did your PlayStation video work actually? Because I'll tell you what, man, I've like hit up YouTube for like troubleshooting on like issues for stuff that just doesn't work that great to begin with, you know? Like, were you actually solving issues for people with the tips and tricks in your video?
Yeah. Between the likes and the comments, you can tell it really helped people. And I did explain in the video, why some of the limitations are there. This wasn't made to be a 360 experience, but if you map it out in such a way where you can do, 270 degrees of turning and it will always see you, it will work really well. But obviously, if you completely turn your back, it's going to struggle because it can't see the balls anymore moving around. But I think between the explanation of how the tech was meant to work and then all my hacks of getting it to work as well as possible really gave people what they were looking for, because they just want to be able to play a game without having to constantly think about tracking. And if you get it to that point, it's going to work well enough that you're going to have fun. Where before, they were way too close to the camera and they'd move their hand just a foot and it would lose tracking. They just needed it to work, and the video got it to work.
Well, that's good. PlayStation VR tracking sucks. Just like as a whole, I had pretty good setup going, and I couldn't tell you how often I was just shaking my aim controller to trying.
The aim controller was particularly bad with its drifting, and but even though it was bad with drifting, as you know, it was still one of the most immersive.
I love it.
Peripherals that there are in VR, period.
It's
right?
It's so good.
It's so good. We have gun stocks and stuff now, but it's different. It's different having to strap your controllers into something, right? And then have to remove all that after when you want to do something else, and pull the things apart and click them back together and try to remember that muscle memory. And then, but the aim controller was a whole separate thing, and it had thumbsticks built in, and it just worked
and the
so well.
Games were designed for it. That's why it was so good. Firewall 0 Hour was built from the ground up to use the aim controller, so it feels amazing. None of these games like Population 1 or Contractors or anything. I mean, Contractors is closer to being designed for it, but none of them are actually designed to be using a peripheral like that. So you have to take you have to go over take. And I didn't eat lunch, and my brain is just messed up.
Have another cookie.
Yeah, I know. You have to do stuff like pull it off of a magnet and stick it back to a magnet. Like that kind of thing. I don't know, man. I still haven't tried Mr. Tasselhoff's stock that he gave me, but I don't know, dude. I just don't see how I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, as far as stocks go, Taz's stock is very good.
Yeah, nice and small.
I have a Pro Tube. I have a Mammut. And honestly, I got the same experience with Tasselhoff's gun stock than I did the big company ones, right? Yeah. So it is good, but it's just gun stocks in general that can be a little tough. And for competitive situations, I'll use them.
Yeah.
But if I'm just playing to have fun, no, I'm not. I'm probably not going to use it. It doesn't.
Yeah. It's it needs to be simple, TAS's does that, it locks those two magnets in. It's easy to get it off and on and keep on going. But I'm the same way. Since the PSVR aim controller, I'm just waiting for PSVR 2 and hopefully at some point an aim 2.
I'm gonna guess it's not gonna happen. I
really want it to happen so bad.
Oh, I think it will.
No,
I really do.
No, because you got to think about why the aim controller even exists in the first place. Because the moves are absolute trash, and you can't do anything with them. They don't have analogs. They don't have anything that you need to make a great game. And the aim gave them everything that they needed to make a great game. PlayStation VR 2 has controllers that will give players everything that they need. So I really don't think there's going to be any need for them to release a peripheral so people can play a shooter the way it's intended to be played.
Interesting. No, that is very correct. The moves had a lot of issues with occlusion as well, just like a lot of things did. But the optical tracking was not great. It was definitely harder to do all the things you needed to do. There were no thumbsticks. The Move had thumbsticks, which made it better than the regular controllers anyway. But I don't know. I feel like if the PSVR 2 has the success that people are thinking that it's going to have, I think they have made peripherals for less people that are interested than the Move controller. So, you remember back in the day, where the Move controllers came from was the PSVR I, or the PSI, which was originally on the PlayStation 2, and then they had the one with the PS3, the I, that then they made the wands for, right? So you could do augmented reality experiences, and they could change the things that were in your hand, and then they took that, and it didn't sell very well, but they still made something that I think they knew probably wasn't going to be the next big thing. And, you know, they do that a lot. They make peripherals a lot. And if people get really into this and Firewall becomes absolutely massive, I think it could happen. And I hope it does happen.
That would be,
really do.
I would buy it.
Yeah, same.
But here's why I say it wouldn't. It's because those games like Firewall, the original one, was built from the ground up for that peripheral. Yeah. Where these other games will not be that. They're going to be built from the ground up with the PlayStation VR 2 controllers. Yeah. So I still, if I had to bet on it, I would say it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I want it to happen. I don't care about the bets or the chances. I'm thinking about a Farpoint 2.
I love Farpoint.
The adaptive triggers now with a real powerful haptic feedback in it. I would go crazy for it. And yeah.
Me too. Farpoint, by the way, when that game came out, I loved it, but I had a real hard time. Like, that game had these spiders that would jump at your face. They didn't even jump anywhere else. They didn't care about your body. They were jumping at your face, and they were nasty looking spiders. And I don't really even have a spider thing, but that game gave me a spider thing. Like, I never really considered a fear of spiders until that game came out, and then I had a hard time. But I was very excited to see that the spiders do not last throughout the entirety of that game.
I love that game, dude.
It's so good. It is so good, and I got through it. Good. You know, but there are games out there that I will push through, even though I'm afraid. Like, for example, I don't like scary games, right? It's especially when you're doing single player. Scary games are they're a lot to handle, right? But Resident Evil 7 was just so freaking good that I had to complete it from start to end. Wow. Like, I couldn't not play that game, and it did take a long time, 20 minutes every time I went to play, to like psyching myself up, like, okay, you got this, it's just a game, but I got through it because it was that good. And it was kind of the same with the game we were just talking about, right? With Farpoint, because it was just so good. I needed to push through those spiders jumping.
Did you ever do the multiplayer in Farpoint, Jay?
Oh yeah, I did a lot of it, and it was only up to 2 people, unfortunately. Yeah. But co-op in that game was great. I actually got a second PSVR in my house, and I had 2 of them set up so when people came over, we could play it together.
Wow.
And it was incredible, just so much fun. And getting people with that controller, getting them in there, they felt how good VR was. That was something that was a really good way to show them versus, putting them on something with the PS Move controllers and they don't have any joysticks. It was just incredible. If they make a number 2, that would be an instant buy for me. I don't care how much they wanted for it and the gun day one.
Yeah. Are you going to be picking up a PSVR 2?
Oh, absolutely. As long as I can get my hands on it. Yeah. I mean, with how hard it was to get a PS5, I'm hoping day one to have a PSVR 2, but I'm scared. I want them to open up pre-orders soon and like enough of them that we can all who want one get one. But I'm nervous with all of the shortages we've seen across the whole gaming industry.
What was the game that the Farpoint developers came out with? Larcenauts. Dang.
I know. I know. That was an interesting one, right? Because it was decent, and the thing is, they messed up the launch. They just didn't listen to the community right away and release the game anyway, and it really hurt that game. And they ended up fixing a lot of things that game had problems with, movement systems and stuff that people just didn't like. But I feel like by then people had moved on already. And it's too bad, because what a great developer. I want to see them continue making games. I want to see a Farpoint 2. And I want to see what else they can bring to the table.
What are they called? Like Respawn? Something?
Dang, I don't know. We had them on our show.
Do you remember what they're called? The development studio who made...
Why am I thinking Impulse Gear?
Impulse Gear. Yeah, that's it. It's Impulse Gear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, well, hopefully Impulse Gear continues Farpoint, because not only were the mechanics good and the game was just fun, the story literally pulled me in, which is really rare for me. Like, it's so rare that I care what's happening to my character. I'm just like, whatever, like put me into the mechanics, put me into the fun stuff. But I was like invested in the characters of Farpoint. It's really good. And it's worth firing up a PlayStation VR 2 or a PlayStation VR and, wiping the dust off of it to play it if you haven't.
Absolutely. I would highly suggest that. It still holds up as one of the best VR experiences, at least in the top 30, 20. I don't know. It's really, really good. There are a lot. I mean, that was one of the, it's funny because PSVR was and is, especially right now, just so under spec'd from everything. It doesn't track as well. It's low resolution. The controllers are terrible, no thumbsticks. But even with all those problems, the experiences and the quality of experiences that are on there, and some of the titles that are exclusive to PlayStation VR that you can't get anywhere else, it's worth picking one up, and it's worth playing one. Like one of the best VR games ever, and I think the best racing game ever, is Wipeout in VR. Oh my! I
knew you were gonna say that.
It's so good. Like if that game, if like PSVR was like Wipeout, it's a Wipeout machine. Here you go. Or something. This is just that's all you can play. I would buy one because it is so good. And for anyone out there who hasn't played that, you need to play it immediately. It is so freaking good. Now, keep in mind that is another one where motion sickness is very, very prevalent. But you know, I definitely have my iron stomach when it comes to that stuff. And that game, I was just obsessed with for so long. And if it was on like PC VR or Quest or something, I would still play it all the time to this day. So definitely.
X says that Larsenos just had a big update a few days ago.
Oh wow!
So they're still
we'd all forgotten about it, so that's kind of shocking to hear. I feel like the one thing we have to mention too, if we're talking about PSVR, Astrobot Rescue Mission.
Oh yes,
slam dunk.
A beautiful game.
Absolutely. There's so many good exclusive titles. There's just so many. Blood and Truth. You know, there's just a ton. Oh, Rush of Blood to this day. I love that game too. And I don't know why some of these weren't able to come to PCVR or any other platforms. I mean, I'm sure they must have signed an exclusivity deal, but man, I mean, they're just so good. And I hope a lot of these get remade and remastered to work with the PSVR too. Pay or not.
I think a lot will.
I hope so.
Like there's no way they don't make Astrobot Rescue Mission playable on a PSVR too, right?
And that's a Sony title, so maybe they will.
No way.
But what about games that aren't Sony titles? What about Rush of Blood? Has that studio moved on from VR? I mean,
probably.
You know, they had a game called Inpatient that I thought was terrible. And I was really excited because that studio was so good. And then that game just bored me to death. And I went all the way through it. And I'm like, it's going to pick up. The studio is too good. And it just never really did. So
these are the creators of Until Dawn. For those of you out there who aren't familiar with it, this is huge.
Yeah, it's a big studio. And Rush of Blood did use all of the characters and was in the Until Dawn universe, right? So it's really good, and I really hope I am able to play that with really good tracking one day, because it's phenomenal.
Snow Toad in the chat with the $2 super chat. It's actually not $1. I said dollars, but they are pounds.
Woo-hoo.
So it's even more, right?
Thank you.
Actually, I feel like the US dollar is going up. I mean, I'm no money person.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know what's happening. I don't know. But man, so we moving on from PSVR to are we all good with PSVR here? Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of said our piece. So recently there was sadly it's Bradley has graced us yet again with some more hardware leaks and has shown off the Quest 3, at least in its concept phases. So I just thought that was interesting. This isn't something I want to talk about in length, but yeah, I mean, Quest 3 is coming. We all knew it was. And it's very much, I found it interesting, and I wish I had pulled up some of the stuff, but wait.
I do think
and like map out your room potentially with depth sensors and stuff. Yeah.
I do think that leaks like this. By the way, I'll just go ahead and say this really quick. Bradley, right? Like the real deal. You know what I mean? Like
for real.
He is the real deal. The fact that he has his name attached to every single major legitimate leak that ever happens is just absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
He's doing something pretty special. So shout out to Bradley.
But only leaker I'll listen to.
Seriously.
Too many others have burned us.
He cares. Like he's not just doing this just so like people will watch his stuff.
He does care.
He's doing it because he literally cares way too much.
One thing people have to realize too is when things get leaked, these are things that were at one point usually in the company's path, right? This is a direction they were going. But during the development of a product, things shift constantly and things pivot all the time. So when something leaks at an early stage and it comes out and it's different, Well, that's evolution. That's the evolution of the product. This is the natural way these things happen. They created the initial design, they start putting things places, then they start building prototypes, and they test things, and they find out what's wrong, and they figure out, oh, we got to move this here, and this cooling doesn't work well. And so just, keep this stuff with a grain of salt. While this is pretty official stuff, this might not, this is still pretty far down the line, and we might end up getting a lot of things, changed. It does not discredit Bradley, right? It just means that the company, this is a constantly...
Nothing's final.
Yeah, it's not a final design. It's not a final thing.
Yeah.
So,
Classy grandma flying in here with the utmost classy move. $20 super chat.
Heck yeah.
Bow, 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 bow. That's right. $20 super chat says, my guys and guest, hey, sorry I'm late. We had a hurricane. Ooh.
Oh, you in Florida?
You know I love ya. Whoop, whoop.
Dang.
Grandma.
Well, we hope you're okay and everything is fine and nothing got broken and no one got hurt.
Yes, please confirm all of those things with us. Otherwise, stop donating and fix your house. But I'm assuming your house is still there if you've got such a generous donation to provide here with the Between Realities podcast fund. So thank you, Classy Grandma, for being here and for the donation.
Heck yeah. One other quick piece of news I want to talk about real quick, because I want to get more
Hold on. Nope. Please wait.
What are we waiting for?
For me.
Okay, waiting.
To express a single thought. I think that Bradley leaking the Quest 3, even though we all know it's coming, I think it makes it real in a way that will potentially lower the hype for the Quest Pro and even potentially reduce the amount of sales it has. Oh, because before we saw these images, the Quest 3 is an illusion, it's not a real thing. We have no clue where it is in its development cycle, anything like that. So if the Quest Pro drops tomorrow, you haven't seen anything about a Quest 3, you might just reach into your pockets and bite the bullet. But now that we've seen these images, I bet you people who were considering the Quest Pro might pump the brakes until they see a little bit more information about this Quest 3.
This is very, very true. This is... Absolutely. That's and that's why they don't want these things to come out, right? They don't want to affect the sales of the headsets coming out, and they don't want people to question that. They just want to sell what they have now, and they're making the best product that they have now. And the fact of the matter is, if they sold the Quest 3 right now, it would probably be so much more expensive that you wouldn't even be able to afford it, or wouldn't, because the cost of the hardware that they're dealing with right now has to reduce, and over time, and as things get produced and mass produced, it gets more affordable and all of these things. So you're absolutely right.
Thank you for allowing me the moment to share this intimate thought with all of you.
Absolutely.
You may continue with the show.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, more Oculus stuff here is that we now have, it was officially announced that there is the Air Bridge, which we all kind of thought was coming, right? So the Air Bridge is like the link cable, but it is a USB dongle that will give you a wireless connection directly to your PC, bypassing your router. So if you don't have the proper kind of router, it doesn't matter. If your router's in the other room, the Wi-Fi signal has to pass through some walls, it doesn't matter. This circumvents all of that stuff and should be able to give you a good wireless PSVR experience on your Meta headsets. So I thought this was really cool because for a long time there, we heard about these things, but there wasn't anything official, and people kept saying, oh, there's patents, and we've heard things, and sometimes those things get canceled, but it seems like they're moving forward with this in partnership with D-Link, which is a wireless router company. So hopefully this will be great, and hopefully it'll solve a lot of people's issues using link cables, not having having a router from 1920 that your ISP provided, and you can't run this stuff properly. So this will give you a good wireless experience, I hope, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on this because a lot of people want a Quest for its wireless PSVR experiences, right? I think it's a big deal. So I'm excited that this is happening.
Yeah, it's one less thing to get in the way. And a lot of us, even myself included, with all that I do in VR, I rarely use it wirelessly just because sometimes I get a good experience and sometimes I get that latency. And something like this that I can just count on would mean I would cut the cable and never use it again.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
That's the last step we needed. And I'm hoping that this means that future headsets might just come with this thing automatically too.
That'd be great.
Wait,
out of the box.
So this thing is I guess, so this is for people who have a router that's not good, or a wireless router.
Yeah. So a lot of routers. So I went out and I bought a very expensive wireless router that does Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E and has a sick throughput because I want to be able to do wireless PCVR when I want to do it, right? And even still, I still use my index 99% of the time. But when I do use this wirelessly, it's fantastic. But the fact of the matter is, most people do not do that. Most people do not go out and buy a sick router, and most people have the router given to them by their internet service provider that is not able to function for low latency virtual reality, right? Like when you move your hand and it moves a second later, barf-tastic time, right? It is not a good situation,
right?
And these routers that are out there that most people have are not equipped. They don't have the memory, they don't have the throughput and the latency, and they haven't been rebooted in 20 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, so this will create a wireless signal directly from the dongle that's plugged into your PC, which is generally right by your headset, right? So you are way more apt to have a good experience. Now, there's obviously still, will be some issues where there's interference or whatever. That's just the nature of the beast with wireless, but this will probably solve the problem for 90% of people out there that want to use this wireless.
Michelle B in the chat asks the question, or brings up the point that is like why I mentioned that. Wow, I cannot believe the difference it makes when you eat food before you speak. It is night and day. Like, I'm like struggling to find the words. So Michelle B says, what's the point? It probably costs as much as a Wi-Fi 6 router. And that's what I wanted to know. It's like, wouldn't I be better off investing in a router that actually does the stuff I want than buying this?
But there's a couple things here, right? If you're going to go out and you're going to buy a router, you have to know how to configure a network. Right? A lot of these are kind of plug and play, but there's still security issues with just plugging in a router and putting in a 47, digit hexadecimal code for, a Wi-Fi password. All of these things, maybe you cannot physically put your router in where you play VR. Maybe your cable modem or whatever it is sitting downstairs in the basement and you just can't get it to where it needs to go. This is going to circumvent a lot of problems. Now, this is a wireless USB dongle. I cannot imagine that this is going to come out for hundreds of dollars, right? I spent $600 on my router to get the best possible. $600 on my router to get the very best I can for throughput for low latency VR. People are not like me. They are not as obsessed with this stuff, right?
Not.
So if they can come out with a $50 dongle, $100 dongle, I think that's worth it. You plug it in, the software sets it up. You don't have to go in, configure your subnets, change your Wi-Fi passwords, set the channels for your 5 gigahertz and your 2.4 gigahertz and your 6 gigahertz, right? That is stuff that most people are not going to do. They're just not going to. They don't have interest. They don't have the knowledge. They don't know how IP schemas work. Like we're not all tech nerds, right? So I think this is going to serve Joe and Sally Walmart very, very well. And it's going to give people a very good experience that already have a PC gaming machine. So that's my 2 cents. I don't know what this is going to cost. Maybe it'll come out at some ridiculous price and it's all null. But I can't imagine. That's not usually how Meta works, right? They put out a really good headset and subsidize the cost. It shouldn't have been as cheap as it was, but it is. So I'm thinking that they're really trying to make this affordable. But we will see. Time will tell.
Yeah, and Lord Beavis says too, also if you have a crap ton of wireless devices, this is specifically for your Quest 2. I can see how that makes sense too.
Yep. Exactly.
Less interference. Yeah. And looking at the pictures of this dongle, it does not look like they're going to be able to put a super high price tag on it because it doesn't look really premium. It looks like a dongle.
Yep.
So I would imagine they know marketing this thing. Okay, $75 is probably the right price for this.
Yeah, you're not going to have a kid in the other room playing Xbox, another kid in the other room watching Netflix in 4K 60, someone else downloading programs for school. And this is a direct Wi-Fi connection from your PC to your VR headset. That is its purpose, and hopefully it works well.
Cool. Well, I don't have a Wi-Fi 6 router. and I have used my Quest wirelessly plenty of times, and I love it. So I will not be buying this.
Right. You do have a very good router, though.
I do have a good one. It's not Wi-Fi. It's not $600 Wi-Fi 6.
No, it's not, but it is the model right before that one.
That thing looks crazy.
Yeah,
that
I can feel it giving me brain cancer just looking at all those antennas.
It looks like a dead spider from Farpoint. It's like up in the air. It's like,
it does,
like a monster.
It does full Wi-Fi 6E, which the Quest 2 can't do, but the Vive Focus 3 can, and some of the newer headsets does E, and E provides ultra low latency, which is what we need for VR. Right, because the latency is what like how far after I move my hand and my head does it actually get over to the computer to make those calculations. So that's a big deal. And for future headsets, I want it to be future proof with that stuff. So
speaking of future headsets, do you like my Skiva transition? Right?
Boom!
That was a Skiva transition.
Nice.
Yeah, give me one of these. Thank you. So speaking of future VR headsets, Skiva and I are on a podcast called the VR Crewcast that takes place on the VR Crewcast channel. I guess it is a separate channel, but Gamertag VR hosts it. And we've been having...
Bradley is on there.
Yeah, Bradley's there.
Wes and Roots from Virtual Strangers and Eric Masher from Q2C VR Gamer. Yep. And
it's a big group, and we've been having fun with it. And we've been pretty loose with the kind of conversations that we've been having on there. Just whatever kind of comes up, maybe stuff that centers around the news. But a conversation we had earlier this week that I kind of want JayBratt to weigh in on, just because he's used everything, right? Let's pretend that a family member of yours is getting a Quest 2 and has zero budget when it comes to, or has zero limitations on their budget when it comes to the accessories and the setup. You know what I mean? Because I'm assuming you would never let someone who you love and care about use a stock Quest 2. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So what, in your opinion, is the prime setup, right? Headphones, grips, facial interface, head strap, anything else that you want to throw out there. What is the god tier setup?
Boom.
So Bobo VR is a big one in the Quest 2. Accessories out. My Quest trying to start a game that was playing. I was like, what does that sound? Bobo VR is huge in the Quest 2 accessories realm. They have their M2 Plus head strap. It's a Halo style head strap, but it's got the nice new flexible back here. Takes all the weight off your face. If you're someone who's used a Quest 2 in any capacity, you know what I'm talking about when I say the pressure on your eyebrows and the pressure on your cheekbones. This moves that weight up to your forehead and then lets that part just rest in front of your eyes. Huge. I also have their facial interface, the F2 upgrade, which puts a fan on top that you can turn on that will blow out that steamy air and keep your headset from fogging. Absolutely awesome.
And it works and it's legit, because I've seen some of those and not so great, this one works.
This one is good enough that I will notice if I forgot to turn it on and I start to do something active, and I will reach up and turn it on because I'm like, okay, I can tell that I'm not running it right now. It's getting foggy. It's getting steamy and gross. Of course, the cat ears are optional, but these are from Mr. Tass, actually, who was here in the chat earlier. Nice. Sent me a set of these. The nice thing, too, though, about the M2 Plus or their Pro line, swappable batteries. So I've got tons of these batteries sitting around, and these just come off magnetically. You toss it back on the charger, and then you pop the next one on here. Unlimited game time because of that. You just literally switch them out.
Absolutely.
It's huge. And then they haven't made grips, unfortunately, because they'd probably make a great set of grips. But the Kiwi Top version grips are my favorite. They hold onto your hand like an index. They have a battery door on them, so it's not something you have to take off to get to your battery. And they extend the length of the controller, because I have some wide mitts here. They extend the length in the feel. They just make it feel more substantial. These are the best. The only thing I don't have a good solution for right now, Bobo VR is developing one, but the headphones. I'm using these pretty good 3D printed ones that got discontinued, and these are a hack job in themselves. But Bobo VR has something coming, so I'm really hoping they fix this, because that's the last thing that I need to be fixed and right. And these are on here, these are just okay. They work.
I want to say too that if you are not a fan of Halo style head straps, the M1 is an elite style, right? So you have the choice with Bobo to have a Halo style that removes the weight from your face and puts it on your forehead, or to have an elite style just like the Oculus Elite strap, but way better. And I also use this on my Quest, and I now cannot imagine my Quest life without this head strap. It is hands down the greatest thing ever. I also use the same grips.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like
we're in agreement with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But you didn't answer my question with the headphones.
Oh.
Because Bobo doesn't have headphones, and you're not going to tell grandma to buy this 3D printed discontinued thing. So what would your recommendation be for a new family member right now for their headphone solution?
That is the toughest question. If they're okay with earbuds, there's a Logitech G333 VR earbud that probably give you the best sound quality overall if you're okay with something being in your ears while you're playing. Beyond that, that's a question that has stumped me for a while, though, because like even for people, I don't have a million sets of these. What do I do? Some of my friends and family are rocking the stock audio, which doesn't sound great.
Nope.
Some of them are using their own headphones they have from gaming already. We have these options, but there was like the Logitech Chorus that came out to a complete disappointment to me and to most people, I think, who got them. And mine actually are already breaking, so we're kind of in this limbo right now where there's nothing incredible. There is a very limited edition Kiwi strap that has the Kiwi Elite strap, if you like Elites, and it has headphones built onto it that sit on your ears. They're pretty cool, but they made like 50 of them to start, and I don't know if they're coming back. Right. So we're in a tough spot with audio.
I'm wearing the Logitech headphones that launched with the Quest 2. I think that's the one you just mentioned.
Pro.
And
but the over ear instead
of the ear ones, the
buds,
over ear. And honestly, like I've had a hard time recommending them until now because it's hilarious. But any like third party head strap outside of the original Quest 2 head straps didn't fit comfortably with these. Like the Elite strap itself, you have to like pull these things to maximum space and then like try to like force the cup underneath one of the sides, and it just wasn't really super comfortable. But now that I use the Bobo M2, there actually is clearance on that headset for these Logitech over-the-ear headphones, and it feels great when I put them on. So if anybody out there is wondering if they should buy the Logitech Pros for the Quest 2, I'm going to say if you take our advice on all these other things and you get the Bobo, then I think it will probably work out for you. I use these for everything. I use these for the podcast. I use them for listening to stuff on my computer at home. So they have been very versatile to me. They're not just a pair of headphones that I can only use with my Quest 2, but I bought them with the Quest knowing that they launched alongside of them, feeling like I could rest assured that I'd be getting like the full 3D spatial audio and all of those things that I need for a good VR experience. And so right now I'm enjoying them, after using the Bobo M2. So
yeah, I had a set. Nat uses them actually, and that was what I said in my review. I was like, if you like these headphones already and you're also going to use them for your VR, that's great because they're multi-purpose. They work with everything. I did find, interestingly, with those, if you try this, maybe you can confirm, I felt like if you use the USB-C instead of the 3.5 for your audio on your Quest, you'll get a slightly more powerful audio out of them. Seemed like they sound a little better.
Wait, hold on. Like you use a USB-C to like 8mm?
USB-C to the 3.5 that goes in. I believe it even comes with that, or at least that adapter, so that you can just do it with their cable.
What? You can just plug your headphone cable into the USB-C port? I had no idea.
That's what Logitech Chorus did, and that's why everyone speculates it's getting better sound, because it's actually got the power to drive those big drivers. But of course, then you block up your USB-C port, so it is a trade-off.
Right, which if you're using a Bobo M2, you're going to want. So, man, that's really interesting. I had no idea. Well, that's cool. It's good to know. That's why you have JayBratt on your show.
Heck yeah.
Tell you these things. Do you want to talk a little bit about your 10 days in VR experiment that you did? Because I don't think we've ever really had the chance to pick your brain about that, and might be interested to see some of your main takeaways in a conversational format, if you will.
Of course. Well, for those out there who haven't followed my channel or haven't heard of this, when we hit 10K, I decided to try 10 straight days in VR. That meant eating, sleeping, and living my life. The only exception, because I didn't have extra Quests at the time, was I didn't try to shower with one because I didn't want to get electrocuted or kill a headset over that. But that was just a quick pop it off, jump in the shower, pop it back on. So I ended up going for 10 full days and nights. And the first takeaway and the most surprising thing of all was it actually was not nearly as hard or awful as I expected. I really thought it was going to be miserable torture the entire time. I was going to be hating it. And it really gave me an appreciation for where we're at in VR, because we're much further than I thought as far as how capable it is to just keep on going.
Wow.
and keep playing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you took it off to shower, but everything else in that bathroom, you left the headset on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can see me walking in there in the live stream with it still on my head and pass through to go use the
and
bathroom.
Sleeping with it, right? Like, oh, I can't imagine sleeping with a Quest on. That's just like, does not sound like fun at all.
I mean, like, I can't imagine wiping my ass with a Quest on, just to put it bluntly, you know?
I've used my Quest in the bathroom. There's actually an experience you can use on SideQuest that if you're a Rick and Morty fan, he has like this toilet that he goes to that's like the most perfect toilet in the world, right? In the universe, and he goes in, and you can go sit on that toilet and poop in VR on Rick's toilet.
And you have done this.
Yes, I have done this.
That is hilarious.
Yes.
Can we do polls? Can we do polls?
We probably can. I don't know.
I wish I could do a poll.
We need
I want to know how many people have actually sat on the toilet.
This.
All right, just say it in the chat. Say a good yes or no in the chat. Have you worn the Quest? I don't even care if you've played anything or not. Have you sat on your toilet and had the Quest on your head? Yes or no in the chat. So did you have any mishaps? You know what I mean? Like you go and like you think you're good, but you're not. It fell, or you know, you reach up for the headset and there it is, big smear. You know. Like,
oh, jeez.
Any accidents?
The white headset too.
Yeah.
I know, right? Oh my god.
I'm seeing a lot of no's rolling in already. Well, I'm a yes, obviously, because I did it for these 10 days. Pass through, I will say, you learn to do your cleaning more off of feeling than off of visual sight. If that answers your question.
It does.
But it the worst thing, actually, though, I mean, the bathroom was one thing. The absolute worst thing was sleeping. Sleeping was miserable because people think, oh, well, I've laid down with my Quest on and watched a show or something, and they just kept that elastic stock strap on. It's not so bad. So I thought, oh, because the elastic is soft around the back, that'll probably be my best option to sleep. So night one, I go to sleep, I have the elastic on. And what you don't realize is because you're laying back, you already have the weight of a Quest pushing on your face. Well, now with elastic, what do you have? You have it pulling even further, driving itself into your face. And I was waking up every couple hours. I wake up in a panic, you know, with all this weight pushing in my face. I could not sleep at all. So by night two, I actually got the Kiwi Elite strap because it has those rigid, hard arms. And I got like one of those neck pillows you wear on a plane. And I put the neck pillow around it so there'd be like that donut-sized hole in the middle to like put the head strap in. And I slept with that on. And that was much, much better. I was able to lay back. It kept some of that weight off my eyes. It was still a miserable experience. And I don't think any night was ever a perfect night of sleep. But it was at least livable once I found that out to be the way to go.
And you streamed this, didn't you?
Yep.
You're like laying in bed, it's 3 a.m. and you're live. Like people can watch you sleeping.
Yeah, it was weird because I'd never done a sleep stream. You know, some people do that. That's a thing. Not in VR, just in general. Some people make tons of money sleeping on stream. And so I aimed the camera as best towards my upper body and torso as I could, just in case. And I put on some green lights. Put on some green lights to give so everyone could see. But like the weird thing was you'd wake up in the morning and there was 10 to 20 people there the whole night, the whole time.
Wow.
You're like,
that's
why
wild.
are these people? There was one night where like 82 people showed up all at once. You can see it on the graph. All at once showed up and for like 10 minutes all stayed and then they all left. I was like, what was happening while I was sleeping? Like I went back and looked in the chat. I couldn't find anything weird. It's like, who tweeted or something about this? Why did all these people show up and watch me sleep and then go away?
That's wild.
And at like the very end of it, as I was getting to get out of VR, a lot of people show up who'd been there, and some people are like, "This is the first time I've seen you awake." And I'm like,
"Wow."
You can
feeling.
This is I couldn't do it. I could not sleep knowing that there was an open door to my bedroom on the internet. I just like I can't even imagine. That's the way I could probably do most of this because honestly. If I'm not, you know, I don't have my child all the time. I have her half the time. But when I don't, I wake up. I'm usually in VR and I am out before I go to bed. So I feel like I could pull this off, but I couldn't sleep in it. I definitely couldn't.
Have you ever fallen asleep with the headset on?
I've nodded off, but I've never like just fallen asleep. I've never like laid down and tried to fall asleep. I've been, you know, I've sat down and I'm tired and I'm like trying to finish a game or around a Demio or something, right? A Demio and like nodded off. But that's that's really as far as I've come. And there are full worlds in VR chat and Neos and some of these places that are dedicated to sleeping and group sleeping. And it's like a big thing, right, where people sleep, and it's, you know, for the feeling of togetherness and not having to sleep alone and all these things. But I just couldn't personally do it. It's too much on my face and too much going on, you know. It's, I don't know. And especially streaming it, that's too much anxiety. So props to you.
Did you spend most of your time like watching Netflix, or were you playing a lot of games? Like how would you say the majority of your time with the headset was spent?
Well, I knew I had to have like a routine. So every day I'd get up and I'd usually play Beat Saber first thing for exercise in the morning with the community, you know, multiplayer. I'd play an hour or two of that to get some exercise in. And then usually it was like, okay, lunchtime was kind of approaching. And then the afternoon was the time that I ended up a lot of times just playing a single player game or sitting there talking to chat, because I wanted to have kind of that me time. Before after dinner, I'd usually open up, okay, some social game, whoever's in the stream wants to come play. But I mean, most of my time was spent gaming or talking to chat. There was a lot of times where I was just sitting there in Steam VR home, leaning back, just talking to chat and reading it as it came in. But that was the other part that was really different. Because I streamed the whole thing, it never felt like I was alone.
Right.
There was constantly people there, constantly someone to talk to. Where if I would have tried to do this alone, I probably would have just played Minecraft for hours and hours and hours on end. But it kind of kept me accountable to not just going into my own world and being alone, but staying more social, which actually probably kept the whole experience being healthier rather than me just 10 days of solitude. So that really helped. The weirdness though started to kick in around day 8. So I think it takes your brain this long to start to like accept your surroundings. And that was the point where I was like, I hadn't seen a real human in 8 days. I'd only seen avatars. And it was like, I started their mouth movements and their hands moving while they were talking stuff. My brain was starting to like try to accept these as real people. And avatars started to seem very lifelike to me. Even ones that didn't look like a human. I was like, these are people. And I'm watching their eye movement and I'm thinking of them like that. And then the weirdest thing, I tried to stand up at one point and walk over in my Steam VR home and like touch the wall instead of picking up my controller and aiming at to click on a game. It was like I'd finally started to really, my brain was like, you're stuck here, so I guess we'll just accept this as reality now. And instead of every time I'd ever done it, I picked up the controller, aimed and clicked. I stood up and went to walk over and touch the Beat Saber panel on the wall. And I was like, what am I doing?
Wow.
That was just the weirdest moment. But it takes a long time to get to that point. It wasn't until like almost the end of the stream that my brain was just like, I guess this is our world now.
Dang. So
it just accepts your digital reality and starts, yeah, that's pretty wild. I mean, I feel like that is a whole conversation we could get pretty deep on.
Yeah, for sure. It is. So you spend 10 days in there. You don't see anybody. You eat all your meals with a headset on. You number 1 and number 2 in this headset for 10 days straight. And then the headset comes off. Like, what are your initial thoughts, and what's the first thing that you do when you finally break free of this VR prison?
I wanted to go outside because, like, usually every day, my wife mostly works from home, and so we go on 2 or 3 walks outside every day. I love the outdoors. I love VR, but I love going out and breathing fresh air. And not only was I stuck in VR for 10 days, I was stuck in one room because I was streaming, you know, the same space. I didn't see the sunlight. I totally lost track of what time everything was. So I go outside, and all of a sudden, the most overwhelming thing was the smell. It doesn't smell bad. I live out near the woods, but there was just so much smell all at once that my nose hadn't had in 10 days. It was intense. Couple that with the bright sun, you know, no VR headset comes anywhere near the nits of brightness we get when we go outside. It was extremely brightly blinding me. Everything was smelly. I kind of felt like I'd just been born or something when I walked out. It was like just overwhelming for a moment. And of course, the big question was, everyone was like, what happened to your eyes? What did you do to your eyes from this? But I actually went to the optometrist before and after and got a clean bill of health. Everything looked good. There was a little tiny bit of time where looking at things far away, it felt like my eyes just took a little longer to focus. But I got out and I went outside and I felt the grass and I breathed and I was like, oh, this is so nice. But the smell kept coming back to it. It was just like everything smelled so not bad, just so intense. Mm-hmm. And then hearing some music that wasn't YouTube copyright safe audio library was like, oh my god, real music.
Yeah, when you're streaming, you have to make sure for 10 days you don't do anything that has any kind of copyrighted thing, because then that whole stream is flagged, possibly removed, demonetized, whatever the case may be. 10 days worth of of this wild experiment that you're not about to go and start over, right? So that's an interesting fact that maybe people don't think of.
Yeah. Is there anything that that you still carry with you today that you kind of learned or realized from this whole experience?
I think that it's possible. You know, I did not think that anyone would want to live their life like that or do that. And there are people that I've met, you know, that say they're in VR chat 10 hours a day. And I'm like, okay, that's extreme. But I see now how it's not as hard as I thought. You know, there might have been some bits of judgment when people told me those things. It's like, well, don't you want to go do anything else? But if you're at a point where, you know, it's hard for you to get out of the house for some reason, or it's hard to go places, you can have your entire life in VR and still live a complete life. You can be social. You can experience all these things. I met a person that's extremely agoraphobic and can't leave, but yet when he's in VR, just talkative and fun. You would never guess that this person hasn't left their apartment in like 3 years.
Wow.
It's a technology that's opening up an actual life to people who could not have had one before. And that was so shocking because I thought 10 hours in, I was going to be the most miserable person ever. And I could have kept going if I really wanted to. There was nothing that was limiting what I was able to do at that point, except wanting to get out and eat and hang out with my wife and go smell outside, apparently.
Right. Wow. So no regrets then.
No. I mean, I think I messed up my sleep schedule a little bit. I think that I didn't get good sleep for 10 days, which probably in the long term isn't great for your health.
Yeah.
I think that if they made a headset that was specifically for sleeping, though, I would be much more willing to think about doing something like that again, because that was the only part that was honestly miserable, was trying to sleep.
Well, we got the Vive Flow for you nowadays. Go ahead and throw the Vive Flow on for your
maybe the
nighttime.
only good thing it's good for, maybe.
It's good for closing your eyes and going unconscious.
Right.
Sorry, Vive. Sorry, Vive. All right, well, listen, we're going to pull the plug on this thing pretty dang soon. But before we do, I do want to just kind of bounce the ball into your court one more time, JayBratt. If there's anything, you know, that we haven't gotten to that you wanted to bring up, or anything important that we feel like we should mention, this would probably be the time for it.
Well, yeah, I want to say, of course, a huge thank you. It's been a dream of mine to come on here for a while. I'm excited we finally did it. To all those of you out there who are curious to hear more, there is a video on the channel summarizing the 10 days. People have said they feel like we kind of did it documentary style, and people seem to really enjoy the video so far. It hasn't been out actually very long.
It was awesome. It was a
lot of work going through 240 hours of footage to come up with this final kind of a, I guess you could say, thesis style video of what this experience was like. But we really had fun making it. And also my channel's there for you if you're thinking about getting into VR, especially if you want to find out some accessories that'll help make your life more comfortable, or tips that'll make VR just more enjoyable for you overall. I just love VR, and that's why I do what I do. And I'm so grateful that I get to do this. I mean, there are people I met on that trip with you guys. You know, there are people who still work full-time jobs and create content, and I don't know how they do it. I don't know how people keep up with all that, but I think that's incredible that you can. And I'm so grateful that I don't have to worry about that half of my life, and that the channel can take care of itself at this point, because that's really lucky. I know a lot of people don't ever make it to that point. So thank you, everyone who showed up in the chat here that's part of my community. And if you're not and you want to come check me out, I'd love that. I really appreciate all of you, though.
That was just so well said. And yeah, I'm feeling the love for sure, man. We're excited to have you come on the show, and very glad that we were able to make this happen. And you know, the VR community is absolutely better as a result of all of your contributions, man. So thank you for doing all that you're doing, and you know, please keep up the good work. You know, we're big fans, and we will be following along for the next, I don't know, how long are we going to do this? Like forever?
For the next forever.
Yeah. So we'll be following you for the rest of our lives. So
I like it.
You just keep doing it, and we'll keep following, and we'll talk to you again in 20 years for Between Realities season 50, and keep pushing. We'll
all be old and gray and still talking about it. I'm excited.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. So JayBratt, the amazing YouTuber, thanks so much for joining us, man.
Thank you, Between Realities community. Thank you, everybody.
Say goodbye to JayBratt, everybody.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
He gone.
Ignore what's on the monitor there, because
what the
I know. Fired.
Yeah.
I actually think next week our guest got changed, so I never changed it on the screen here. So stay tuned to find out who will be appearing next on the Between Realities of VR podcast.
Why don't you go ahead and follow us on Twitter? Because if you follow us on Twitter, we'll release a nice post in the next few days that will allude you all to who our guest is, who, by the way, we have booked. We just weren't ready to show you who it is right now.
Exactly.
Thank you all for joining us for this live episode of Between Realities, and thank you for listening if you are catching this after the fact. We've had an amazing chat here. Hussein X and Natalie, Snow Toad, Bluebell, Fabster, Roy Boy, Kevin Frost popped in here at the end, Traveling Man, CreeperBetty, and Chi-Town D, and Chris Richardson, and Mr. Lord Beavis, and Classy Grandma with that fatty $20 super chat. So generous and nice. Douglas K and Guido, all of our members, by the way, our new members.
Yeah, thank you.
People who have signed up
all
as
of
members.
you.
Yeah,
you're just the best.
Ridiculous.
Absolute best.
Yeah, Michelle, Koala Tea Leaf, Wolf Raza, Wes, Nathy popping in here earlier, Revivalizer popped in here. Masher was up in here.
The VR fam.
Yeah, the VR fam for sure. So thank you all so much for joining us today for this episode of Between Realities. We will see you in the same place at the same time next week with somebody great from the VR space. Is that it?
That's it. That's all she wrote.
That's it. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye-bye.